I only do 15-minute videos, so this is a continuation. Many of the things that happened to me when I was a kid, when I was from the age of 11 until the age of 14, those years of my life were puberty, pre-puberty and puberty. Because I really wasn't, as an 11-year-old boy, I didn't know much about nothing. I didn't have any dirty magazines. I was into my Legos and my Matchbox cars and Lincoln Logs, running around, playing basketball, baseball, football, trying to anyhow. Always trying to be like Lee Baum. He was my hero. We always looked a lot alike too. Everybody used to kid me I was his brother, but Lee didn't like that very much. Anyhow, when I was 11, I wasn't, I hadn't even begun really thinking about my bar mitzvah yet. But then as time, the following year, this person had moved to Memphis and had taken a huge interest in me. And my parents didn't mind because they had a new baby. My little brother Billy was born. He was, a year and a half, so 2 years, 3 years old. He was their pride and joy. Not that I wasn't, but they didn't have a lot of time for me. And when this man took an interest in me, I guess they were thrilled, that they had somebody that would look after me and teach me and blah, blah, blah. Little did they know what he was teaching me, And I didn't really know what he was teaching me was wrong or bad because it felt good. I didn't know any better. And he took advantage of that fact, but it was how he went about it. He decided that basically he was going to adopt me, and he had a friend of his that was in the Child Protective Services business, really, that he had began an investigation into my mom. My dad was hardly ever home, so my mom was the focus of the investigation, and it was all with this desire on this man's part. He had convinced me that my parents didn't want me. Okay, that they didn't love me. That they had a new baby. They didn't care. They didn't have time for me. Here, I'll teach you how to drive. I'll let you smoke cigarettes if you want to. I'll get you weed if you want to. I'll give you beer. You can go to the grocery store and pick out whatever you want. And that's what he would do on Friday night. Pick me up. In spite of his, religious duties, where he was going to have to be at the synagogue singing that night or something. We were seen by a lot of people a lot of different times, and it was never questioned why, because they figured if my parents approved, then it must be okay, And I think other parents, and I know other parents knew what was going on with this man. They knew he was doing stuff that he wasn't supposed to be doing, but they turned a blind eye to it, all right? Because they didn't want to embarrass Rabbi Becker, they did not want this man that they revered to have to deal with any kind of a scandal involving somebody in his synagogue. They didn't want to be the one to do it. I believe that's a big part of it, you know, or they didn't want to believe it was true or that it was possible, but it was, and it was going on right under Rabbi Becker's nose in his synagogue, okay, in an office behind his. I was abused while being tutored, you know. What kind of religious man does that? Apparently a lot of them, you know, because of their repressed sexual bullshit. Fuck religion, man. It's bullshit. You know, you want a higher power? Have a higher power. It exists. It's there. I don't care what you fucking call it. But religion? Can any of you understand why I ended up the way I did? Why I got to this point? You tell me, how much effect did this person that abused me have on me? I couldn't deal with authority, you know. Before that, I was just a troubled child. Well, you know why? Because I was hard of hearing and nobody knew how bad it was. It was always Eddie's not listening or Eddie's not paying attention. The fact is Eddie was fucking hard of hearing, all right, and didn't know what was being said to him specifically most of the time. I guessed at a lot of it. I read lips. I taught myself how to read lips. There's a lot of things that people don't understand about Eddie Kramer. Maybe they don't give a fuck, you know, but I give a fuck, you know, and I want to share this story with you because it's important. It doesn't matter if you respond to me or reply to me or anything, okay? I spent a lot of my teenage years being talked about behind my back, okay? A lot of people having conversations about Eddie Kramer and nobody willing to talk to his face or tell him to his face, you know, how they were feeling about him, because quite frankly, I was a little bit of a scary dude, you know. I don't blame you. Why did I get to that point, you know? I mean, some of you remember me as a sweet little boy, Eddie Kramer, running around, you know, JCC. And I went to St. Dominic's, and after that, I moved on to Ridgeway and to White Station. I did a year at Memphis State. And along the way, you all were a part of my life. He wasn't physically in Memphis anymore. When I came back from Houston, a lot of y'all remember this maybe, but I went to Houston for a drug abuse program. It's court ordered because I did some stupid shit. I was basically given an option, go or go to jail. I didn't want to do 2.5 years in juvenile, so I went to Houston. And I played their game. I let them treat me for substance abuse, but I never dealt with the issues that were causing or that happened as a result of before the abuse of my substances. I was abused, okay? And not just abused, but used, and by somebody that was part of my religious community, okay? Now, I know I'm not the only one that was involved. I know that I wasn't the only one that was affected. I know that there were other children that had this happen to them. The problem is, not all of them had it happen to them when they were 11. Some of them had it happen to them when they were 14, 13. There's a little difference there in the age. It's subtle, but it's different, okay? Because of the statute of limitations. There is a cutoff as to what is still criminal that can be, you know. And for me, there is no statute of limitations because of the time that the initial abuse occurred. The age I was at was under the limit, and it doesn't have a statute of limitations. At least that's what I was told back then when I filed the report. I went to Memphis. Some of y'all know I came to Memphis one time for a few days, and I went through the process of talking to a few different people, and I filed a criminal complaint finally after having my repressed memory that allowed me to see the first time this man abused me. And that was in my bedroom that weekend. I'd never seen it in my memory. I had blocked it out for many years. I knew I had a relationship with him, but I always blamed myself for it. That's why I had so many problems. That's why I wanted to kill myself. That's why I was self-destructive until I had my repressed memory. That came about in a very, very strange, unique way. When I tell it to myself, it's crazy. But my cat MJ jumped on my chest, and bam, I had this electric energy just shoot through me, and I lived my entire life backwards in my head, in my brain, in my memory. It just and then it started to play forward again, and that's when I saw it. It took me back to that very night, the very first time he ever touched me. And then I knew why I felt the way I felt all those years. I knew instantly I didn't want to kill myself anymore. Literally, I was reborn. It's what you can call it if you want. But my higher power gave me back my light that day. I got the memory that I needed to understand, to process, and to begin the healing of that. Strong today, as strong today as it was the day it happened. You still want to tell me that he didn't have any effect on me? That he's not responsible for who I am today? Of course he is. It doesn't mean that certain things would not have still happened to me. But there is a great deal that did happen to me because of him that never would have happened. It just wouldn't have happened. But it did, and I can't undo it. It's part of my past. But the past becomes a present, and the present becomes a future, and then the future turns back into the present, and the present becomes the past. This is the way it goes. We lived our lives, we lived each day for today, but yesterday happened. Can't go back and change it, but it still happened. And something from yesterday did affect today, and something from today is going to affect tomorrow. A lot of it is random.